Hi, I'm Alan Ning. I'm with Zorianna Kit, and today we're reviewing Belfast from Kenneth Branagh. And just based on some, quick notes we've sent to each other, I feel like today's conversation is going to be between Belfast being good versus great. I don't think, to me, it wasn't a bad movie at all. I'm putting it in that good category, but I feel like you liked it a whole lot more than I did.
Oh my gosh, Alan, this movie, it's my pick so far as a nomination for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography, best. I mean, there's just so many bests in this movie. This is what Oscar films are made of. I loved this movie. Clearly, my score is going to be really high, but I do have to say it was probably one of the more enjoyable films that I've seen this year. And for me, just ticks off all the boxes of what a Oscar-worthy film should be. I loved it.
Well, let me balance it off. I mean, I liked it. I like the story. It uses kids in a similar way that Jojo Rabbit did in terms of finding a really good actor and telling a story around them. My issue really, there's just little nitpicky things that bothered me. It just made me wonder: is this really as great as people say it is? I will say, I think your screening was more fun. Well, I don't know. My screening was kind of fun. I saw it with the San Diego Irish Cultural Center,
Ah,
and so there are a lot of people there who really like this movie.
when I
Oh, go
went
ahead.
to see this film, I first of all, the invitation kind of got me out of left field because I had never even heard of it. It wasn't even on my radar. I watched the trailer and I'm like, this is cool. I mean, it's black and white, it seems very arty. I don't know, could go any which way. And so I went to the screening. So I really had no expectations, wasn't really sure. But as soon as it started, there was everything about this film was done in quite a deliberate way, I feel. So basically, this is a sort of autobiographical story of Kenneth Branagh's childhood when the Protestants and the Catholics became at war, which, by the way, all of that sort of these warring factions of not accepting each other for who they are is timely today in the different ways we are seeing things in our society in terms of Black Lives Matter and lives of LGBTQ community, the trans community, all that sort of stuff. So that topic of persecution for having different views or looking different or being different, in this case, it was religious. It's very topical. And the way that everything was shot was done, like you said, from a child's point of view. We often see the camera looking up. So we do acknowledge that we are the point of view of a 9-year-old child who is looking up at the world around him.
I mean, I think the theme that struck the crowd I was with was basically the ending. It's this idea of leaving one's home. The film kind of honors not only the Ireland, but those who have left and those who have not come back. And I think that really resonated amongst the crowd that I had. Look, I'll say this. My ancestry comes from the Pacific side of the United States versus the Atlantic, and so I think there is this little disconnect I have with that area of the world. Even though I'm very familiar with the conflict between the Protestants and the Catholics that went on in Ireland, I think, and this is the closest I'm going to get to being slightly racist, but I swear I could not understand half the dialogue in this movie. I don't know what it is. I've seen other Irish films, and I struggle so much to really understand what people are saying. And
They
the,
actually address that in the movie, actually,
yeah,
about about the fear of moving to the UK or to London, and what if people don't understand them? So
yeah,
you're not alone, Alan.
I know. I mean, clearly everyone in the room could understand what was saying. And I'm like, so there's that frustration in me where I'm missing half the dialogue. There's also, as much as I like the cinematography, there's something about black and white and something about the setting being the 70s, early 70s, where if you're going to shoot it on a digital camera, maybe you need to soften it up so it looks like it's shot on film, because the images in this movie are just a little too pristine and a little too perfect that compared to film. And
Well,
you know, that was a disconnect for me.
let me,
But
let me
otherwise, I
challenge
like
you.
the cinematography. I
Let-
like
let-
the compositions of
I,
genre.
I do want to challenge you on that. I understand your critique of that. However, um, because this film is told from a 9-year-old's perspective, and like you said, ultimately the story is about leaving the only place you've ever known and going somewhere that you've never been, the
Yeah,
leaving something behind, which weighs really heavily on the
yeah,
young boy. But you have to also realize, Alan, is that he is looking at his, little street corner where most of the story takes place as an idealized place. It's, how we
mhm,
always idealize childhood memories, and everything is a little shinier and glossier than perhaps we think it is. And I feel like, to your critique about everything being a little too pristine and clean with the cinematography, I feel like that's his version, even though there are two warring factions and there's protests in the streets and there's looting and fires and quite dangerous situations happening there. It is still the only home he's ever known, and he doesn't want to leave, and it's idealized. And that to me
mhm.
makes it okay to have something be so pristine, because it's
Yeah, I mean, I could get a little nitpicky in the sense of, it's, you know, if that was true, then the entire movie should be from the kid's perspective. But then we do get scenes of the parents alone talking of the father trying to, you know, basically the father being extorted by, you know, by his own people. You know,
Alan,
and again, that's all fairly nitpicky. I think my ultimate point in all this is that as I'm watching the movie, there are things that happen that you see that are that just kind of, you know, knocks the cognitive dissonance in my brain a little bit, and it just pulls you out going, okay, I got to struggle a little bit back to get in the groove of the story. There's a struggle for me at times, really fully embracing and engaging with the movie.
well, to be honest, there was some parts of the accent that, I didn't always catch. However, I felt that, what I appreciated about this film is that it never once got political. We never knew. I think this story takes place in 1969.
Yeah,
So we were never informed, as a 9-year-old probably wouldn't be, what else is happening in the world. We don't know what the greater issues are politically. So the story does really keep the focus very much on the family, on the fear of leaving, and on the things that are happening there. I wasn't born in 1969, so I don't know what was happening politically,
yeah,
historically at that time on planet Earth, regardless. But to me, just I did relate to parents struggling to make ends meet, and things like that. And also, when you mentioned that, we do see parents talking and figuring stuff out, and it's no longer the child's point of view, I beg to differ, because the way the camera was positioned, from like a staircase or from a corner, it's like the little boy is kind of peeking or overhearing these conversations, and he is hearing this. So I
mm,
I really do feel that the cinematography and the director really made it so that there was an innocence and a purity to what this child was feeling, despite the stuff that was
yeah.
happening around us.
I think it's really about the story that you brought up, and that's the part I do like about it is, you know, I liken it a lot to my parents and my family's journey to America, and our life in America at the time, because quite frankly, there are no stories about what they went through and what the Chinese community went through in Los Angeles and California at that time, not yet at least. And so this, yeah, this does kind of resonate with that, and I think, there is this struggle that we all have of finding our home. What is our home? Leaving our home, and being forced to, it's going on now with the border crossings with refugees from Afghanistan, Syria, and so on.
The movie has so much heart and
Hmm.
humor. I was surprised at how much I laughed in this movie. There are so many, because it's a young Kenneth Branagh, we do see how he, of course, he grows up to be a filmmaker. So how many times does the family go to the cinema to watch a
Hmm.
movie? There's this great scene with like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on the screen, or he's watching Star Trek on the television. So there's all these little things like that made the film like extra enjoyable
Yeah.
on top of that.
Yeah, I'll add two more extra enjoyable things. One is the Van Morrison soundtrack.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Yes.
I mean, it just fits. It's not of that time, but it just fits the visuals you have on the screen, and then the visuals you have on the screen of just Ireland, and the very end is kind of a, it's a love letter to Ireland. At the same time, it's also a travel brochure for the, for the country of Ireland. And I think when you get to that ending, it's just the honor he gives to his home country. Our main struggle here is between good and great. So clearly you're on the great side.
Oh, yes.
It's your favorite film. So
Yes.
seeing that it's your favorite film, I'm gonna guess you gave it a 9.5.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I don't think I've given any film in 2021 a 9.5. And if there is a film that is deserving of that, it would be Belfast. And to be honest, it is right now my favorite to
Going
get.
into the award season.
Yeah, going into the awards, exactly. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the films, it's still early, there's still so many great movies coming out that are contenders, or the buzz about being a contender, but honestly, this is really a recommended, and I don't find there to be an age restriction on this, or a competence restriction on this. It's really just it's a well-made, beautiful movie. I think just I have a feeling like I do feel like you liked it, like as I did, although you are kind of nitpicking on things that really lowered the number for you. And I understand that, if you can't understand something, then that does hinder your enjoyment. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so I think maybe you gave this film an 8.
Yeah, well, I gave it a 7.5. I think we're there in the sense of it's good. I think if I were to generalize my qualms, I struggled with the movie in the sense of just really, trying to understand what was going on, trying to understand what was being said, and it does distract. But at the same time, definitely go see it. My score is my score. I think most people will not have the problems that I had hearing it. I think people will have the problems I had hearing it as well. And so there was that little struggle there. And honestly, I'm not sure that let's just take all this nitpicking out and just go with the story itself. As much as I like the story, I'm just not. It just really didn't compel me to the great stratosphere.
Hmm.
I think I do liken it to the heights of it as to a Jojo Rabbit, and
But I love
it,
Jojo Rabbit. If we're going to
yeah.
talk, if you're going to compare
But
it to,
I don't know that I would call Jojo Rabbit great,
ah,
but it's
I
definitely
love
up
it.
there. It's definitely high
Yeah.
up there. So that's kind of where I stand on this. So I think some of my score is personal, but I think in general it's a good film and definitely worth watching. All right. So having heard all that, what did you think about Belfast? Let us know. Like, subscribe, comment, support Film Threat as we support independent film. And with that, let's get out of here.